So time now to take another look at the morning's papers. Here with me today are the former editor of the Daily Star, Dawn Neeson, and the presenter and writer, Matthew Stadlen. So welcome back to both of you. Now, we're kicking off, Matthew, aren't we, with an article in The Guardian and the launch of the government's net zero strategy. The headline describes it in inverted commas as a travesty. So who's saying that?
Yeah, that's being said by Green campaigners. This is a kind of revamping of the government's net zero strategy. And I think everyone watching will understand that if, as it seems likely, this launch next week will be based out of Aberdeen, where you can see perhaps the government's priorities might not be as green as many would hope they would be, because Aberdeen, of course, is the capital, the UK's capital of gas and oil. Also, it was going to be called Green Day. Now, you might think that sounds a bit sort of naff, but it's now looking likely to be rebranded as Energy Security Day. So there seems to be a massive emphasis here on a future, at least a near future, that includes gas and oil, further drilling contracts perhaps. And Green campaigners are obviously very upset about this, because the suggestion is that Grant Shapps, who of course is the Secretary of State for Energy Security and Net Zero, perhaps still doesn't get it, that Rishi Sunak's government doesn't get just how important it is that we get our house in order and that we do meet these net zero targets by 2050. One example of a measure that looks likely not to be included in these plans is the idea that the Ofgem, which of course is the regulator of the energy industry, will not, it seems, have powers to include net zero as part of that regulation. So as someone like myself who cares about net zero, I do work for Net Zero Week each year. I have a series called Let's Talk Decarbonisation. This is ringing alarm bells. Yes, of course, there are pressing needs. We've got to keep the lights on in this country. But my worry is that this government is not taking net zero seriously enough.
Very briefly, the government, I think, would say we do need oil and gas to bridge the gap until we've got enough renewables to make sure that keep the lights on. And it's better to have it domestically than import it. That's what they would say from a security point of view, apart from anything else, and a sustainability point of view, I think they would argue. And they also say we've got tough targets and we still think we'll meet them.
They would say that, and we know that we're suffering an energy crisis. We've felt that in all of our pockets, and that's largely because of Putin's war. And of course, we've got to keep the lights on. My concern is that whereas Boris Johnson's government, I wasn't a big fan of that government, did seem to take green issues quite seriously, perhaps they could be watered down under Rishi Sunak's premiership. And journalists, I think, and commentators have to keep a beady eye on that.
OK, let's move on to a story that's actually, it's on the front page of the Daily Mirror, Dawn, isn't it? And you're looking at the article inside where there's more detail. And it's extraordinary a story of a man who says that he's gone out of his way to get dental treatment. So tell us what it's about.
Well, in theory, Anna, this is a story that affects 11 million of us, because 11 million Brits are currently, going without any dental care because there aren't enough dentists to go around. So this is the story of Richard Howe, who's 58, who's from Ely in Cambridgeshire, and he developed an abscess and severe toothache, but couldn't get a dentist anywhere near where he was to treat him. Privately, it would cost £1,000, which he obviously didn't have. So what he did, he actually flew to Poland and then got a train into the Ukraine, which cost, I think, around about £500 altogether, including dental treatment, to get treatment in Kiev. And this is... the story is he actually lived in Kiev for a while, by the way. It's not a strange to it. Didn't just pick it at random. He lived there for 12 years and owns a house there. But he literally landed, Anna, and walked into a dental surgery and got treatment straight away, which is a dream for most of us in the UK at the moment for lots and lots of reasons. We just simply don't have enough dentists to go around. And 1 in 10 of us now, Anna, have resorted to DIY dentistry at home, which involves pulling our own teeth out, trying to plug fillings with super glue, all sorts of horrific things. So, I mean, Richard now thankfully has been successfully treated in his home, safe and sound, but he was actually having dental care where there were air raid sirens going off in the Ukraine.
Yeah.
But it's a damning indictment of what the dentistry industry, what state it is in at the moment.
You should have seen Matthew and my faces while you were talking about home dentistry there, both grimacing. There's no comment from the government actually in this article, is there? But I do know that they did say that they launched a package of measures back in November to improve patient access to dental care. So no doubt they would point to that in answer to that story. Let's move on though, shall we now, Matthew, to The Sun. I like that headline. Easter sunny. Please say that's going to be true.
Yeah, a good pun from The Sun. We were talking about the climate a moment ago. Now we're talking about the weather. We all want good weather over the Easter weekend. And it is good news until you get to the very final line or so of this article. The good news first is that The Sun have found a meteorologist who says that basically we've got some warm weather in store and it could reach up to 20 degrees in some parts over the Easter weekend. Wouldn't we all love that? But then when you get to the final line of the article, they say the Met Office is less optimistic and is predicting temperatures, forecasting temperatures of between 10 and 14. Although that would be better than what I read in a tabloid the other day. They were predicting what they described as a freeze stir, and we all know what that would look like if that would materialise. Please no, yes.
I don't want a chilly Easter egg hunt. I'm just going to say that now. You can either get snow or sunshine at Easter. You never know, do you? Anyway, lovely to see you both this morning, Matthew and Dawn. Thanks so much for taking us through the papers. Always good to see you both. Thanks very much indeed. All the top stories up next.